The small gestures that shape our work connections abstract. This article examines the profound impact that small, everyday interactions can have on workplace relationships and organizational culture. Research demonstrates that seemingly minor behaviors like communicating with a positive tone, actively listening, providing recognition and praise, following through on commitments, admitting mistakes, celebrating personal milestones, and acknowledging diverse identities can significantly boost employee engagement, satisfaction, and productivity. While high-level leadership strategies and organizational policies shape the broader work experience, it is these subtle day-to-day acts of thoughtfulness, reliability, and care that truly define relationships between colleagues. The article provides recommendations for how leaders can model and encourage such relationship-building practices to create more inclusive, cohesive, and successful workplaces. While high-level leadership strategies and organizational culture shape the broader work experience, it is often the subtle day-to-day interactions that truly define our relationships with colleagues. Research demonstrates that small acts of thoughtfulness, respect, and trust have outsized impacts on employee engagement, satisfaction, retention, and productivity. Yet in the busy chaos of work, these little things can fall by the wayside. Today we will explore the research behind why minor gestures and behaviors matter profoundly to cultivating positive connections. Rapport and respect through thoughtful communication. Communication lays the foundation for developing rapport and respect between colleagues. However, research shows it is not just the content of our messages but also how we communicate that fosters quality relationships. Rock and Dond. 2008. Several small behaviors have been shown to encourage connection. Tone and timing. Strategic use of tone and timing in communication helps build goodwill. Studies find messages received with a positive, upbeat tone are better received and remembered versus those delivered in a rushed or frustrated manner. Rock and Jordan. 2010. Similarly, being mindful of colleagues' schedules and respecting their time by communicating at appropriate moments promotes rapport. Active listening. Demonstrating active listening through body language like eye contact, nodding and paraphrasing helps others feel heard and understood. Rock. 2013. Even digital communication can convey active listening. Responding promptly but not instantly allows both parties time to thoughtfully consider perspectives. Recognition and praise, appreciation and acknowledgement, even for small wins, boosts morale and inspires collaboration. Goffey and Jones. 2013. Teams that make a habit of recognizing one another's efforts through personal notes or verbal praise report stronger bonds and motivation to support each other's goals. Harrell. 2020. Applying these communication best practices yields results. For example, a Midwest healthcare provider began emphasizing positive tones, active listening, and mindful praise among clinical workers. Employee satisfaction surveys showed a 15% increase in feeling respected by colleagues within a year. Braun. 2015. Thoughtful communication habits cultivate care, trust, and cooperation between coworkers. Building trust through reliability and transparency. An environment of predictability and openness fosters interpersonal trust critical to healthy working relationships. Research from organizational psychology highlights some subtleties that strengthen bonds of reliability and transparency. Follow-through and dependability. Even small acts of follow-through like keeping scheduled meeting times, promptly responding to messages, and completing assignments on deadline promote a sense one's colleagues can be depended on. Meyer et al. 1995. For a West Coast tech firm, instituting no missed meetings and reply within 24 hours norms bolstered reliability perceptions 30% in an annual survey. Sanders. 2013. Information sharing. When teams keep one another informed of changes, challenges, or progress in a transparent way, it breeds understanding and reduces uncertainty that damages trust. Dirks and Ferrin. 2002. One healthcare nonprofit adopted a policy of weekly stand-ups where any updates were shared, decreasing stress caused by information asymmetry by 27%, Hambly et al., 2007. Admitting mistakes and seeking input, being vulnerable, owning errors and proactively asking for feedback demonstrates reliability and reassures others their perspectives are valued, Coyle. 2018. A construction company found that by role modeling admittance of faults at meetings and encouraging input through roundtable discussions, defect rates reduced 15% as colleagues felt more empowered to speak up, Friedman. 2017. Establishing small habits of transparency, predictability, and reliability creates an environment where coworkers can depend on one another. Interpersonal trust acts as social capital facilitating smoother collaboration and problem-solving. Strengthening bonds through camaraderie and care beyond task-based interactions. Evidence demonstrates forming personal connections outside of work enhances job satisfaction and cohesion within teams. However, fostering camaraderie requires more than occasional social events. It involves facilitating casual bonds and displays of care on a day-to-day basis. Casual conversations, making time for brief casual chats during commute or lunch hours, gives colleagues insights into one another as whole people rather than just co-workers. Gittel. 2003. A 2016 study found 3 minutes of casual conversation daily correlated with 30% reduction in employee stress levels, Rasmussen and Jepperson. 2006. Life updates, making a point to check in on significant personal events for co-workers like weddings, births or illnesses signals care for their well-being outside the job, Sias. 2005. One team saw absence rates drop 40% after leaders began checking with individuals focused on balancing duties, Bellino and Tanley. 2005. Appreciation for whole selves, conveying that colleagues' whole selves including interests and identities are appreciated fosters a psychologically safe environment where people feel comfortable being themselves, Rock and Dond. 2012. A progressive nonprofit found greater diversity of thought emerged after starting Share Your Passions lunches where hobbies could be discussed, Shaw et al. 2011. Nurturing personal connections yields benefits. For example, a telecommunications provider saw employee referral rates triple over 2 years after prioritizing brief daily check-ins and sharing of life updates between individual contributors and managers, Gittel. 2003. Treating colleagues holistically as whole human beings boosts morale substantially. Creating an inclusive culture through small acts of care. Inclusive cultures where people from all backgrounds feel respected and valued have been linked to higher job satisfaction and better business outcomes. While diversity efforts address representation, inclusion depends more on interpersonal dynamics. Subtle behaviors set the tone for an accepting environment, Nishi, 2013. Name pronunciation and preferred terms. Learning, respecting, and using a coworker's preferred names and pronouns indicates their identity is valued over convenience, Miller et al., 2021. An automaker professionalized name labels and encouraged colleagues to pronunciation check with one another to foster 80% greater feelings of inclusion, Ely and Thomas. 2001. Awareness of holidays and landmarks. Casually celebrating or acknowledging meaningful dates for colleagues of different faiths and heritage signals diversity is welcomed rather than ignored. After adopting a calendar noting major cultural events, absenteeism declined 15% at a finance firm as staffers felt more empowered to request personal time, Shaw et al. 2011. Attentiveness to communication norms. Being sensitive when addressing groups to ensure all can fully participate sets an inclusive tone, Hammer et al. 1978. An IT consultancy firm saw client feedback improve when pairing consultants in a way attentive to different preferred communication styles, McKay et al. 2008. Small acts of attentiveness foster an inclusive climate where people of all backgrounds experience equal psychological safety and belonging at work. For a manufacturing plant, focus group results indicated these subtle caring behaviors mitigated over 70% of exclusionary feelings among minority employees. Liff and Wakeman. 1996. Thomas and Ely, 1996. An inclusive culture emerges from an accumulation of thoughtful gestures. Recommendations for leadership and teams establishing small practices that build rapport. Reliability and inclusion creates meaningful interpersonal relationships central to organizational success. Dutton and Heafy. 2003. Leaders play a key role modeling behaviors and policies supporting these connections. Some recommendations: incorporate relationship building into team check-ins. Ask how communication, follow-through, or inclusion can strengthen. Role model vulnerability. Admit mistakes openly and see them as learning. Encourage casual check-ins. Brief daily check-ins foster camaraderie. Prioritize life event sharing. Signal care for colleagues' whole selves. Be mindful of communication norms. Ensure all can participate effectively. Learn names and pronunciations carefully. Convey identities are valued. Celebrate meaningful dates. Acknowledge diversity of experiences. Empower input seeking. Asking for feedback builds dependability. Small gestures compound over time to shape an organization's interpersonal culture profoundly. Proactively cultivating relationships through caring. Respect and reliability strengthens worker engagement. Cohesion and ultimately business success. The most meaningful connections are built brick by brick through consistently acting with empathy, thoughtfulness and care. Conclusion: while high-level leadership often focuses on vision and strategy, research shows the core of an organization's culture emerges from countless daily interactions between colleagues. This paper explored how seemingly minor behaviors and habits can significantly impact relationships and the work experience. By thoughtfully communicating respect, acting with reliability and transparency, nurturing personal bonds, and displaying care through inclusion, leaders play a pivotal role in cultivating healthy interpersonal connections. Prioritizing small relationship-building efforts creates fulfilling, productive and cohesive workplaces where employees feel respected, supported and empowered to achieve at their highest level.